Jack. I'm from the great city of Norwich in the UK, though I'm actually talking from the middle of Tokyo in the early hours. What How I Met Your Mother means to me, it's the emphasis on hindsight, the benefit of hindsight, and the fact that as bleak and as negative as things may seem in the moment, actually it may be building to something better. It may be setting you on a course in your life which ultimately leads to something better. That means a lot, simply because about 8 months ago, I had a nervous breakdown. I wasn't very happy with my life. And here I am 8 months from that now, and I'm much happier where I am. I'm in Tokyo for the first time, and I might be in a position to tell the girl that I love her. So, actually, seriously, thank you for that. It's really helped thinking about it and watching the program. I don't think you can de-emphasize just how much it means to people and how much it means to me. I don't know how to thank you for that, except for this message. Thank you.
I'm alone. What a pity I won't be soon in New York City. When I see you, please permit me to tell you everything in New York City. Well, hello there. I'm Josh Radnor. I am joined by my friend Craig Thomas for another episode of How We Made Your Mother. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Josh.
Hey.
Boy, I don't. Maybe one of these openings I won't get choked up as it's happening, but I'm 0 for 12 or whatever it is now, and not getting choked up.
It's always an amazing
beautiful
way to start the show because this is our first time hearing them, so it kind of puts you on your back foot in a good way, right? Like I don't come on knowing what we're going to hear, how I'm going to respond to it. What Jack was saying so beautifully, and I think the thing about, I think the medicine, if you could distill How I Met Your Mother, the special medicine that it has within it, that people keep going back to it as if it's some kind of like well or altar, some sort of like nourishing, life-giving thing, is it doesn't shy away from the low moments, but it gives you this context for viewing the tough stuff in life that says, no, you know, a lot of times you have to be broken open so something else can come in, and the old parts of you have to die and go away and wither before the new thing can regenerate and grow. And you know, I was listening to him and I was like, wow, I need to hear this today. Like I'm glad he said that, you know.
Me too.
And I you know, I'm just, as you know, winding down my tour, and I have certain songs that I'm so glad I wrote them because I get to sing them all the time and I get to hear them again. I get to hear them anew. And even working on this show with you, Craig, and Alec, and everyone else is like, it's just it's refreshing that message within me, you know. And it's bigger than How I Met Your Mother, but I think How I Met Your Mother did such a good job at creating spinning a narrative where people could get you know, literally punched in the face. It was all part of some big plan. I mean, it's quite magical.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's this idea of the one, right? I'm going to hold on to meet the one. And that is a beautiful thing, right? That aspiration, that romantic idea of meeting the one. But what I took from Jack's message, and I think it is in the show too, maybe even as much or more built into the structure of the show, is that when you're in a low moment, you should also hold on for future you. That's who you're doing it for.
Right.
You're holding out and enduring for them so they can get through it. You can meet them later. You can meet future you and tell the story. That's who you owe it to. That's who you're doing it for.
And it's almost like future me is going to need some resilience. They're going to need the lessons and strength that I'm gathering now. Because it might even be harder in the future. Like I'm in training for my future self, and presumably maybe your kids. You know, I think there's that kind of like, there's the storyline of parents sacrifice for their children, and we sacrifice for our future selves. Like that's quite a lovely idea. I love that, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I really heard that in what Jack said there. So Jack, thanks for reminding us of that part of the show we made that maybe we weren't aware of at the time in a way.
And also, like, How I Met Your Mother is very much about a man in dialogue with himself. You know,
yeah, it is.
That there's certainly the older narrator Ted is in dialogue with this younger self, but on some cosmic weird level, present day Ted, my Ted, the Ted I played, is also in dialogue with his older self because he's always thinking about the front porch down the line and what I'm going to be. You know, he's trying to lay the seeds for his life, and you know, he's mistake prone and he draws erroneous conclusions quite a bit, but he ultimately, like, he does string it together. And I think there's something about the show that's quite forgiving. You know, there's a mercy at the heart of it that I think people really respond to. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, you know, it's okay to have a breakdown, as Jack said. And then before you know, 8 months is not that long to kind of like swing to the other way. So it's like, it's a faith. It gives people faith. I mean, what better thing would you hope for from a television show?
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege to hear that it meant that to Jack and to other people. It's amazing. Yeah. And that is the aspirational quality of the show. It's sort of, it seems at first that it's the aspiration of meeting the one, but in a way it's also just surviving and realizing you're becoming the person who's going to tell this story one day. Which I love Ted for, because that's his drive. That's really his drive.
Yeah. Well, let's downshift into the episode under discussion this week.
This episode embodies a lot of what we just talked about.
Yeah, it really does. And this is kind of, we've been talking about this. This is kind of part one of a really like a 2-part episode around this wedding.
Yeah.
This episode, the wedding, which is episode 12. Is that right, Alec?
Yes.
Yeah. And when did this episode air?
This episode first aired on January 9th, 2006.
Okay.
Our first one of the new year.
Our first one of the new year. And then this led into, drum roll, please, episode 13. But let's limit our discussion, at least for now, to the wedding.
It will be hard. I binged them last night. I watched them as an hour, and it plays so great as an hour that it will be really hard not to talk about it as well. I made a huge mistake watching both together, even though I loved it. I love the hour of this, but we'll talk about the first half hour, and then we'll get to this.
Well, do you want to do our quick summary as best you can of what happens in this episode of the wedding?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we just talked about. It's Ted making a plan, coming up with an idea and an aspiration.
Yeah.
He's going to bring
an
Robin
unshakable
to this
plan that has to be exactly the way he sees it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually quite like the limo, which preceded it in a way, where it's like the plan and then watch the plan fall to absolute shit, and but then maybe something better emerges out of that. It's a similar structure, but Ted wants to bring Ted's feelings for Robin have crept back up. Right, and we saw it start in Pineapple Incident. We saw it when they kissed at the end of the limo. We saw some heat there. We saw those embers are starting to catch a little smoke coming out of there again. And Ted says, "I think I have feelings for Robin again," and he wants to bring her to this wedding that they're all going to. And Ted is convinced he did his thing he always does, which is checking +1 out of this aspirational hope that when he got the wedding invitation and he looked ahead a few months, he would have this belief that he would be in love with somebody and bringing that person. And I love how the whole episode kind of becomes this symposium on, is Ted the kind of guy who always checks that box out of his feeling that he's a couple guy, or is Barney actually right when Barney says, you didn't check that box. You checked that you were going solo because you knew you were going to go there with me and we're going to hook up with bridesmaids and whatever. And I love that the whole episode is kind of this like court case essentially about which guy is Ted. And of course, in the end, we find out that, spoilers, that Barney is right. Ted did not check that, which I think is really, really interesting that Ted did not check it that one time.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing, again, like how memory plays with us and toys with us. You know, like, I'm certain I checked that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm the kind of guy. It also is very Field of Dreams, you know, this idea of like, you build it, they will come, right? Like
yes, totally.
He's a man of, you know, he's really wanting to, he's wanting to create space for this other person, but something in him is like self-sabotaging, and he it's even mystifying to him, right?
There's a thing you want to know. You want to know if Ted checked that box or not, and you do get to find out the answer in the end of the episode. I really liked that.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you. It New York City.
We'll be right back. Alec, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you ever leave your house and go places?
As seldomly as I could, but there have been times I've left.
Yeah, you get to a certain age and you just want to hunker down. And
I don't want to go anywhere.
Where have you been recently outside of the home?
I went on a big trip. I went to Sancerre.
Sancerre?
Ouais, Sancerre.
That's in France?
It is in France. It clearly is in France.
Wow. How was that? What were you doing there?
It's an incredible town. I was taking a language course for 2 weeks, 4 hours a day. Immersed in French in this beautiful
town. We get it.
Town.
You're smarter than us. Just move through. It's
1,000 years old. But I'll tell you this. I don't. It's very famous Sancerre. It's very famous for wine and cheese. I don't drink wine and I don't eat cheese.
Oh.
I was in the wrong town. But it was beautiful. It's an amazing place. And now I'm doing research for a project that I'd like to do there.
Oh, fantastic. Are you aware of how much money you lost by not hosting your home on Airbnb while you were in Sancerre?
Boom. You didn't see that coming, did you, Al?
No.
You thought you were all smart with your Sancerre language class. Guess what? You lost out on making money with your apartment. You could have been hosting it on Airbnb while you were in Sancerre. Alec, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
Craig, you've been married a long time, right? How long have you been married?
That's none of your business.
Come on.
I have been married since 2001. I don't want to date this because people can hear this for years. But
24 years.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I've been married less long, but I do know from having been married at least a little while, a lot of marriage is figuring out with your spouse what you're going to eat.
Big time.
And it happens all the time, every day. Just new challenge of what are we going to eat? What are we going to eat?
Three times a day.
Yeah.
It rolls around.
Don't you find it exhausting?
I find it exhausting and stressful, and there's got to be a better way? Question mark?
Yeah. In the modern world, we got to figure out a better way. What about this? You ever heard of HelloFresh?
Oh my God, I knew you were going somewhere with this.
I
was
always
like,
get
where's
ya.
he going with this? Why is he talking about my marriage? I knew you were leading this somewhere.
Well, HelloFresh makes it easier to fit quick, home-cooked meals into your schedule every week by curating delicious recipes like pasta primavera, chicken Dijon, and pecan-trusted trout, as well as over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats. Flexible deliveries that you can pause or skip when you need.
Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/YourMother10FM with a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. This is a great way to solve that eternal problem of what are we going to eat.
And now, back to the show. You know, this episode is really, really good. And I also, Jordana has remarked that that to her, the show's getting funnier as she watches it. But I think that's a consequence of, you know, the characters a little bit deeper. And when they respond as their character would respond, there's pleasure in it, right? Because you're like, oh, that's old so-and-so. Like, that sounds just like, you know, Marshall loves the cake. Oh, he's a cake lover. You know, like, I actually jumped ahead. But I had some notes that I warned you feel like the ravings of a madman because I watched this a week
Do you
ago.
remember writing these notes?
I don't.
Did you go into sort of a fugue state?
I was on so much tantrum. I have no memory. It was just a tantrum and sandwich weekend. What is deer carcass on a hunting trip?
That is okay. This is good. We're going to make a little game show out of this one. I'm going to try to. The game is me translating Josh's.
The game is.
I have the answer to this one.
Yeah.
The answer is Barney says you do not bring a date to a wedding because
Right.
it's like bringing a deer carcass on a hunting trip, which is the creepiest possible metaphor. Barney is clearly a murderer. Barney has a murder house somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what that one was.
Great.
Did you write that down because you heard it and at the time you think you were so disturbed by that image that you wanted to ask about it? Or
Well, I remember
you don't even remember. You have no recollection of it.
I remember just being startled by it. Like,
it's a startling image. It's a startling image.
Yeah.
As I think they point out to Barney in the moment too, to be fair.
I really like, this is another, I'm trying to get in the habit of seeing when I think I did a good job. It's a self-esteem builder, right?
Yes, let's talk about that.
I love Ted's face when he hears that Robin and Derek broke up.
Oh my God!
Just that
the
kind
Christmas
of like,
morning, trying to hide the Christmas morning look.
It's really fun as an actor to play two things at once. It's fun to play the thing and then cover it, or cover it not that well, because of course he has to be like, oh, like a good friend, but the twinkle in his eye is like, yes,
It is an A+ reaction shot. It is a full-on A+ reaction shot. I was watching with Rebecca, my wife, and I said, that is a great, what Josh just did there. That little, I was going to single that moment out too. It was great. Yeah. Good job, Josh.
Well, it's
you did good work there.
It's also nice that you and Sue, included that. Like it's important, like, to clock. This is his.
Let's say that. Let's talk about that for a second. Sue, our editor, who won, I believe, 3 Emmys for How I Met Your Mother, was one of her superpowers as an editor is that she just knew your guys' energy so well. Right. She knew the cast. She really watched everything. She mentally logged things. And so when her first assembly cuts would come in, before we started honing it more, so much good stuff was in there. She really attuned. She's a musician. Sue, before she was an editor, was a professional violinist in orchestras.
Violist, I think.
Violist. And she... God, now I'm up in my head about which one it was. Sue, forgive us all if we got this wrong. But she had a music to her, and she attuned to what you guys were doing so acutely. So she would not waste that reaction shot. I bet that was in her first assembly.
You could make a case that Sue Fetterman knew the show better than anyone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, she saw the 35-minute cut, and she helped whittle it down to the 22.
Sometimes.
So she saw every take, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, she really got, and I think it was funny. Like, I remember when Sue would come to set, she would pop in every once in a while, and she would always, she clearly loved this gig. Like, this was a job she really enjoyed. She always made us feel so good, because she would say, I'm just having the best time. Just having the best time editing you guys, and that was such a nice feeling, because before you saw the final cut, you were like, oh, the person who's got their eyes on this first really likes this,
She loved you guys and loved the show and like really got it. And what a superpower to have that on the roster, right? I mean, like at we had the right person at every job on this show, which doesn't always happen. Yeah. And what a lucky thing. So that those little moments, they don't get lost. Those little moments get seen.
When did Barney say, how way? What was that? I wrote that down.
How way. Alec, do you remember? We all watched this one night ago, less than 24 hours ago. I'm planking on that one.
Thinking.
I bet people listening know.
This is the worst. This is officially the worst podcast of all time. This is 3 guys not remembering what they watched 18 hours ago.
Not just watched, but you guys wrote it, rewrote it, made
Josh
it,
acted in it.
Look, it's about the fallibility of memory. This show.
Yes, it is.
It's about the fallibility of memory. But it made me laugh. How way.
Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Yeah,
this is embarrassing.
What?
Maybe next time when you do notes, you can draw pictures along with it.
Write down time codes, like Sue.
That's right.
What was it? Is it Stuart who says you called our 7-year-old flower girl a whore? Or is that?
Yes, that's a Stuart line.
So I want to shout out Stuart and Claudia, Virginia Williams, and Matt Boren, who came back a bunch of times over the years, right?
Yeah, they came back a bunch of times, but I will say, I don't want to cut you off, Josh, if there's more.
Go ahead.
Here's my observation. Rebecca said this as we were watching it. She's like, first of all, I want to say I love them, and I love this episode, and I love the hour that is this sort of 2-parter. It reminded me a lot of how the pilot and Purple Giraffe, when you rewatch those, it's an hour. It really is like one episode. But the wedding and drumroll, I'm having such a hard time not talking about drumroll already in this podcast, because it feels of a piece. But Stuart and Claudia, it's very funny how in this episode, they just seem like they're the best friends of this group that you've never heard about till now. And then you go like a long way, never hearing about them again. And when the wedding, like the moment where the wedding falls apart, they've broken up as a couple. Who does Claudia call? She calls Lily. Lily is not in her bridal party. Lily's not her maid of honor. She's like, who's the one person I can talk about this? Lily. And it's very funny how much emphasis is put on like Stuart and Claudia. It was just, we really built that up. We didn't really explain how they all knew each other. We just sort of like created this condition. They're all really close. That's my one note on the episode. My other note on the episode is there's a moment in the episode where Lily is like, I'll go run down to the bar and comfort Claudia. You guys go talk some sense into Stuart. Marshall says, let's go talk sense into Stuart. And the guys get to Stuart hours before Lily gets right downstairs to the bar. Rebecca was like, why is there such a lag for Lily getting down to the bar? She's like, what happened there? I was like, I don't know. I guess maybe she's taking a giant dump or something. That was my best. I
no,
never had a line in there
peeing.
about her taking a
She was peeing because Lily was always peeing first season.
It takes Lily a really long time if Barney has plenty of time to try to get work his moves on Claudia. And if we had it in the script or the cut, we definitely didn't keep it in the episode that aired. Did we ever talk about an obstacle of why Lily didn't make it down there faster? I can't remember.
Speaking of
look back at the script.
Friend groups, I have 3 very good friends, 2 of whom are married, but they're just like my nearest and dearest, these people. And we call ourselves the Circ, right? Like we're the circle. The 4 of us, we play euchre together. Like and people who get close to us are like, can I be in the Circ? And we're like, oh, no, never. But we have a name for the people on the outside of the circle. We call it the riff for the periphery. Like you're on, you're kind of hovering.
The riff.
We say, well,
the riff.
You can be in the riff, So Stuart and Claudia were in the riff, but they were never going to be in the Circ. They were never going to be in the Circ.
Yeah, they're in the riff. But they're not. It's just so funny that that's the person that like Claudia is like, I've got to talk to Lily right now. Yeah. And there was something funny about that when we were watching it. But
they're both so perfectly cast because Virginia had a way of being kind of like a bridezilla, but not in a way that was like odious. It was more like, no, she has a point, Ted. Like, you can't do this.
Ted is fucking stuff up in here a little bit, right? Ted, you do not fuck with a bride. Ted is definitely fucking stuff up here.
Well, I also watched this now 20 years. I haven't seen this in 20 years.
Yeah. You've gotten married since this happened.
I had a wedding. Like, I understand, like, if someone calls you 2 days before the wedding and they're like, can I bring a date? It's like, are you insane? Like, this thing
shut up.
Is designed with an inch of its life. I also thought it was funny that in 2005, like a wedding costing $400,000 is a really expensive wedding. Like it's expensive now, but like that's a really expensive wedding.
That is a really expensive wedding. Yeah. I know. I don't know if we lived up to that in what we portrayed. We see like a couple little tables.
It looks like a Hilton ballroom.
It doesn't look like I think they got ripped off for that $400K for sure.
Yeah. But Matt Boren is so like he has the face of a like silent film comedian.
Oh yes. He's really funny.
Like just an ability to just like be long suffering. But not in a way where you feel like we got to go save him, just in a way like he's probably the only person who could handle this energy.
Yeah. But he's kind of cocky in a way. He's kind of like, I could get someone hotter than Claudia. And your reaction, another great Ted moment, is when Ted just starts laughing way too fast and way too hard at that. And that's to kind of like pull back from it. Like, well, that's crazy. You shouldn't break up with Claudia. That was a great moment.
Yeah. The scene where Marshall and where they go to stage the intervention is very good.
I love that whole sequence. There's so many funny moments in that, and Marshall ending up saying you should break up with her, and then saying the sort of great reason why, like what the stakes are of getting married. I thought that was really. I love how Jason played that.
I love that, and I love Ted's dude. Like you, I stole that. Shout out to my Kenyon College roommate Matt Olins. I stole that from him. He would do that all the time. Dude, like why are you saying that? So I kind of took that from him.
You know what was a dated moment too, if I may say so? I think they're listing great things about being,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
About being single when he's like having porn.
No, he said owning porn.
Owning, he said owning porn. I was like, how quaint. How quaint, kids. There was a time
own porn one day
where people owned their little hand-picked, curated porn stash.
Yeah.
And that is the internet and modern life has gotten rid of that incredibly charming thing where guys have a bag of VHS tapes or something, or DVDs.
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes there was so much the circuits got jammed.
The circuits got jammed. I was thinking, this episode, circuits got jammed. This is us calling back that in the limo, they say the circuits got jammed 100 times times about cell phone calls, and it makes it sound like we don't know how cell phones work.
Yeah.
But I thought that was this week's of like owning porn.
Owning porn, yeah. There's not a lot. It's shocking though how few references date the show. Like there's a couple that I think are actually quite charming
when they do.
They jump out, and it's good. You know what I loved? I loved the fast forwarding sequence of the argument. Wasn't that when Stuart and Claudia were breaking up?
Yeah,
like that's
I love
fantastic.
That. I love we had to write a whole big long argument for them. Like those were like separate script pages that they sort of had to do. And we said, you know, it's, you don't have to be like word perfect on this, but they needed something that would take that long, right? We're literally fast forwarding through what they're really saying. That would have been great too. I should sometimes go back to the scripts before we do these podcasts, clearly, because I've not done my homework. It would be very cool if I had that and could just read what they're really saying. But I don't. But they had a whole script.
But it was also cool. It's a great storytelling thing, because when you have like an argument that ends in a breakup, those are hours long, you know,
hours and
you literally you remember 3 sentences from them. You remember like the wounding lines, or the ones that you're like, oh, we're not coming back from this. Like this is really bad.
Yeah, we have crossed the Rubicon. There's no putting this one back together. I love the moment where you stop and she just goes, "And your mother," and then you start fast forwarding, and that was my favorite moment of that. They played that so great. I wonder how long that went on for in real life. I'm going to say it was hours. And then she goes and finds Lily, her best friend in the world.
It was also fun the way Virginia played Claudia was so, like, I mean, you know, when I think it's like Barney, like when you see it from the outside, you're like, why would these people be friends with them? But when you have that much history and you know them from the inside, you know, but I liked how every time he had to call her, he was justifiably scared, you know, like
like, she was in a scary state for sure.
But again,
but she played it with a humanity. I liked
totally.
her. But again, the actress deserves so much credit, Virginia.
Having now gotten married and understanding the stakes involved in a wedding, the how much planning goes into a wedding, and for just like someone on the riff to call and be like, "Hey, cool if I bring a date," it's like it's maddening. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I'm emotionally with Ted, but logistically, I'm like, yeah, Claudia had every right to scream at him. Like,
Claudia is so justified. Ted is wrong. Ted is in the wrong for most of this episode, and she comes across crazy, but she has a point, which is what makes it good. And Stuart is so great. He just so haplessly walks into this the drama. He doesn't care about who's coming to the wedding, and she really does. And it's a great payoff when Robin doesn't even show up. And I love how Virginia played that moment too, where she's relaxed in that moment. They're married, they're at the party, she's had a few drinks, and she's like able to laugh about it the way that when you look, it's true, right? You look back on your wedding and you go, right. It was just, essentially it's just a party, right? I mean, it's like once you've done it, you sort of like, it changes immediately.
My friend is getting married this summer in Paris, and he asked for my kind of hard-earned wisdom around weddings. And I said, weddings are, the dress rehearsal is the performance. Like, you do not really get to rehearse. Like, the rehearsal, like, that's not a rehearsal. Like, so much goes on that is, you know, there's going to be the things in the speeches that kind of wound you a little bit, you know? Like, a friend of mine told me he, at his wedding that I was at, there was a table in the back that was some really good friends, and they were just talking so loud, and he was so upset by it. But then he was told later the speaker that was by their table was kind of blown out, and it was outside, so they couldn't hear anything. So they were like kind of detached from the whole thing. And I just tried to say to him, like, it's going to be chaos. A lot is going to go wrong, but the wrongness is part of the rightness. Like, you just have to bless the whole thing. A wedding is chaos. It's almost like marriage. Like, you just bless it all, because it's never going to, again, like with Ted, it's never going to go according to your specifications, but it's going to unfold the way it's going to unfold. And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. The whole thing this whole episode is yet another like exploration of plans and meeting reality, right? from all ends. And the idea that Ted essentially sets off these dominoes that lead to the couple breaking up because he's trying to will this plan into being.
Yeah.
It's yet again Ted's kind of hubris, right? If we're talking like basic like Greek mythology story structure, like he flies too close to the sun by promising Robin the slot. And he is sorely punished, and he really brings other people down with him when he comes crashing down. And yet you so understand, you are rooting for Ted. You know he's wrong. If you're the couple getting married, he's wrong.
Yeah.
But you're so rooting for Ted. And you believe, right, when you first watch this episode, maybe you do think he checked that box, right?
Yeah.
We know he didn't because we know how the episode ends. But when you're first watching it, it's pretty convincing that he does, right? The episode opens with him. It seems you almost feel like you saw him check the box. Of course, we don't see which box he checks conveniently.
Yeah.
But you feel like you see it. And you work off that premise the whole time. And then I'm reminded of it was a real reveal that he didn't. And Barney is basically, I love another great Neil moment in that episode. Neil is so funny. His little Barney voice when he does the little Barney in the back of Ted's head. And I love that he's done this so many times that Marshall and Ted know exactly what it is. I love the shared history.
Yeah.
But Barney's right. Barney's right. Ted, some part of yourself deep down does not actually think you're ready for all the shit you're claiming you're ready for.
Right.
And he's right.
It's also nice that even though Ted almost breaks up this marriage and ruins a $400,000 wedding, he's not a villain. Like, that's really good writing, because it's not, it's not like I'm scheming or, Ted's scheming or doing something devious. He's actually just trying to do the right thing. He's trying to do the right thing by Robin. He wants everyone to have a good time at this wedding. And I like that it's not a morality play. It's like we screw things up, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, that's what it is,
Yeah, I really like that. It's complicated. It's no one's purely the villain. It is a really well-written episode. Shout out to the writer Courtney Kang, who wrote this one, who's been on the show with us to talk about an earlier episode. She'll be back for sure. Great. Yeah, it's a great one. And it's funny. It's the first, because Drumroll Please, in some ways, I think gets talked about more by the fans and maybe by ourselves too, like, because that's we meet Ashley Williams. There's so many very memorable things in that. This episode's so important. It really is an hour-long story.
There's no drum roll without this episode. Like, this tees it up perfectly.
Yeah, this is the drum roll to drum roll, as it were, and it's like and it's really urgent. It feels like the stakes are incredibly high. I love when the stakes aren't bullshit. It's like, for a minute in this episode, that wedding's off. I love that. It's like, it's really like stressful to watch in a good way, because you're like, you really are rooting, we're 12 episodes into rooting for Ted and Robin, or what's going to happen with these two. And this is it really ramping back up. And the idea that Robin doesn't come, and Ted has that moment of saying, it's just not easy. The universe isn't actually putting this into place for me and Robin. Barney was right. I'm not ready for any of this. And then the twist being that he ends up meeting this other, like, super intense love interest, a huge part of his like life love story. He meets Ashley Williams in that moment at the end of the episode, which one of my favorite music usages of the show, that Soul Meets Body by Death Cab, when you're pushing it on Ashley across the wedding, the $400,000 crappy hotel ballroom that it seems to
cash
be
bar.
Cash bar. But I love that. I love that moment, and it's just interesting because there's a lot of twists and turns there at the end. Yeah, I like that ramp where he actually does meet a very serious love interest in that moment. He seems to be giving up upon it.
And if Robin hadn't gotten called to the station, none of that would have happened.
And this old man, he must admit he fell in love with you in New York City.
And now, commercials.
Quick straw poll. Who here wears underwear? Everyone?
Okay. We do.
Guilty as charged.
Yep. What does anyone have a preferred brand? Let's just get real. Let's just cut to it.
I only wear one brand of undergarments. Just the one, just MeUndies.
MeUndies.
Since COVID, I've worn nothing but MeUndies for about 5 years.
Now that one pair, or you switch them?
You got to switch them out more, Alec.
I also use them as my mask, so it was a twofer.
They are it's a multi-faceted item. Listen, we cards on the table. Josh and I, we're apparently maybe going to get some MeUndies as part of our new sponsor, MeUndies. But you guys really love and wear them already, and so tell us why they're so great and go.
What does underwear need to be? It is incredibly comfortable.
Yes.
They're soft right out of the bag. They're soft on your bag. Can I say that?
I don't know if you can say that, but I'm glad that you did.
They are contoured. I'm going to explain it that way. They are contoured appropriately for
Alec Lev shaped men.
Exactly.
Just say it. They have a ball caddy.
They have a ball caddy. I didn't know this was what they. I'm just learning now that that's what it's called, but that's what it feels like.
All roads in this script lead to the phrase ball caddy, so let's just get there.
They're also like climate controlled somehow.
Oh
my God. Here's what I like as I'm reading up about it. 10 different styles to fit every guy's butt and presumably balls. Let's just do it. And I love that that's a whole selection depending on your body type. That seems superior to the underwear that I am currently wearing that shall go unnamed and does not have a ball caddy.
So many different colors, so many different styles. They're fun, they're funny, they're silly.
I got a pair that have sloths all over them.
Sloths?
So from a design perspective, this is an incredible company.
This sloth thing has introduced a whole other element to me. Now I'm like, what? I don't know. Ball caddies, sloths, oh my.
They're great colors. I go black. I just have black.
Well, if you're only going to wear one pair for 5 years like Alec, you want it. It's black is your color.
You're not using this product correctly, Alec, but it does sound like a great product. And here's the thing that we're going to say to end it. And we aren't going to get to say ball. We aren't going to say ball caddy again. So let's just, anyone who wants to say ball caddy one more time, just get it in there because we're barreling to the end. Now? Okay, ball caddy. I only need one more.
Slide into game-changing comfort with MeUndies. Support the show by going to MeUndies.com/yourmother and using my code yourmother to get 20% off your first order plus free shipping. That's MeUndies.com/yourmother. Code yourmother for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
I'm not sure I like associating MeUndies with my mother.
Welcome once again to the continuing adventures of our friend Doug and Mint Mobile. Doug, what's the latest episode? What's happening this week with you and Mint Mobile?
I was talking with our intrepid co-producer here, producer Alec Lev, and he called me on a line that I used to call him on, which was my other big carrier line. And I realized when people in my phone call me on that old line, because they haven't switched it over yet, after like 30 seconds, everyone turns into a computer.
Robot voice?
You have to hang up and call them on your Mint Mobile line with a clear line.
And Alec can attest to this. I had to call him. Yeah. And it's happened repeatedly. And it wasn't until last week that I realized, oh, it's the old line. I just need to get away from it.
So in addition to lower monthly bills, no more unexpected overages, you get great coverage and also for a plan only starting at $15 a month?
That's right. Great coverage in the house where I live.
So you can communicate via telephone.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like the modern age.
This is great news. This is a great episode of The Adventures of Doug and Mint Mobile. I feel good about this one.
Yeah, this had a happy ending, and it helped our own podcast because you guys can communicate better.
Yeah, it did. We were talking about the show.
There was a little bit of a cliffhanger when the voice turned into a robot, but then there was a good resolution. Our hero pulled it out at the end.
I thought the machines were rising up, but it didn't go that way.
No, Mint Mobile saved us.
Mint Mobile saved us.
Well, if you like your money, and Doug does, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/yourmother. That's mintmobile.com/yourmother.
End of commercials. Back to show.
I also think there's something about the age, that kind of tender age of like 27, where it feels like the weddings are starting in earnest. You know what I mean? Especially in like New York, people get married a little later. Like there's something about that time where do you have a plus one or don't you? Like it is an existential issue, you know, like do I keep myself available at a wedding? Because people meet at weddings is one of the places where people meet. And really, and it's such a romance is in the air, and it's hopeful and optimistic. And I think that that time, there's like a decade in your life where you're just going to a lot of weddings, and when you go to them alone, it's just a little trick. I mean, some people prefer going to them alone, and other people would rather have someone on their arm. But they're provocative, right? Like they're a little bit like, is this ever going to happen to me or for me? Or,
yes.
you know,
it stirs shit up.
It stirs stuff up for sure. And I think that's why people get a little too drunk at weddings. People like say the wrong thing at weddings. Like they're provocative times.
There's big feelings. This is what I say to my children. You're having big feelings. There's big feelings at weddings. The stakes are really high. I'm proud of this episode, this two-parter in a way, because it's the same thing as with a holiday episode. Don't do a holiday episode unless you have a really good idea, a really good take on a holiday episode, or else just don't do the holiday. Doing a wedding episode, doing a comedic episode or comedic movie about a wedding, you're very aware of the 7,000 years of wedding-related material that has preceded your little attempt to do something set at a wedding. And I like this dilemma so much, but I don't feel like I've seen this specific dilemma of like the +1 idea and the sort of symposium on, did I check this box and what's going to happen? And then I really like the ending sort of has this 2 or 3 twists all at once. He didn't check the box. Maybe he's saying he should let go of Robin. He doesn't want to be. He wants to be single. He looks across the room and literally sees the next person he's going to fall in love with in that moment. I love that in the last 30 seconds of this episode, a lot happens.
Yeah. There's that thing, it's a little bit of a new age cliche, but it's like something like the universe only gives you 3 answers to your prayers or requests. One is yes, another one is not yet, and the third one is I have something better in mind. For you, right? And Ted gets at least in this, two-parter, he gets I have something better in mind for you right now. He gets both not yet and I have something better in mind all at the same time.
He does. I love that.
It's kind of like it is a really fresh take on weddings, and you could almost see the themes and stuff of this being expanded into a feature. Like it would be a great kind of feature film about a wedding. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Sometimes the answer of, if you're afraid, how do we do a good wedding episode? Or how do you do a good New Year's Eve episode? In both that episode and this one, which are back-to-back in the running order of season 1, you never see the New Year's Eve party, and you basically don't see the wedding. Right? There's no wedding. You skip over the wedding. You're like, we don't become a cliche comedy take on weddings because you don't even see it. It's all about the run up to the wedding. And then the next episode basically jumps way into past the wedding.
It's the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, right? Like you follow
It's waiting for Godot.
Yeah, you follow the side characters. It's also, I don't know if we might have discussed this, but did you read the Mark Harris's Mike Nichols biography?
No,
it's a fantastic
I have not read it
book.
Yet. I keep hearing how good it is.
If you're like in showbiz, it's like, I think, essential reading. It's just really, it's like juicy, but also edifying somehow. And he was such a fascinating character. But one of his truisms about romantic comedies, he said, if you want to make a classic romantic comedy, they can't get together at the end.
Right.
Like The Graduate is kind of like this really discordant, weird ending. Right? Like it's not like a big celebration. It's like, what have we done? That kind of look as they go on that bus towards an uncertain future. And I think that, How I Met Your Mother, like both fulfills, it gives you everything you want, and it's constantly pulling a rug out from under you at the same time.
Yep. And like When Harry Met Sally, like there's that feeling at the end of When Harry Met Sally that like, it's still a journey, right? It just ends with the two of them, and she's sort of like going on her long run at the end as they're just sitting there doing their little couple sort of like talk to the camera thing. And like, it's true. If we all love a happy ending and a warm wrapped up ending, but it's true. They're really all timers. There's always something the edges aren't always sanded down at the endings. That's a great observation by Mike Nichols.
And if you're an acute observer of life, very rarely are things symmetrical, perfect. Like you kind of have to bless what's that Japanese thing, wabi sabi. Do you know what that is? It's like Japanese artists will put an intentional flaw in their piece. It's like a wink from the artist that says like, I'm an artist, I'm an imperfect being. And also like I acknowledge that there is nothing perfect, so we should just dispense with that fiction right away.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I think it's the same idea as doing an episode about a wedding and not showing a wedding, or doing an episode about New Year's Eve and not showing New Year's Eve. It's like so much of life happens not at the thing you think it's about. It happens around the thing, and before the thing and after the thing. It's almost a testament to there's no endings. There's one, death is the one big ending.
Well, it's also the thing of like I think part of the challenge of life is to not be the main character all the time. It's why having children is like healthy for the soul and sometimes hard on the ego, because you really have to dethrone yourself. But when you're at a wedding, you are the main character of your story of the night, but you're not the main character of that evening because that's the bride and groom, right? So you're like 10 rows back and you're having, maybe an argument with your wife or girlfriend or whatever, like, but that's your experience of the wedding is from that perspective. That's the story of your wedding. And the bride and groom are kind of like foggy and off in the distance.
Totally. It's totally Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and Waiting for Godot. It's like that's what it's like to go to a wedding. You're not the main characters. You are off, but you can have all this drama going on off on your little table at table 10. There's a whole other drama happening.
Yeah. What was I just had one other question to Marshall.
Interpreting your notes.
When did Ted say to Marshall, "Do you think she's into me?" Like it was kind of
I love that moment.
It was like in the middle of a heated thing, and then and then he drops it all. Like, do you think, he's so ready to drop plans, to drop, like his entire energy changes when the possibility that
and
Robin,
you know what? It's a callback to the limo. Remember, it's a callback to the limo when Ted and his date are up through the sunroof of the limo. He's like, do you think she's into me? It's like two of those in 2 episodes. Very funny the way you played that. That was another good one, Josh. See, we're going to compliment you. I'm going to give some notes on the writing, but I'm going to give you compliments. The other writing note I have is like, for this whole 2-parter, no one should ever answer the phone. There's always like, we've solved the problem. Ring, ring, and then the phone, and it's like Robin gets called to go do the newscast. I was watching with Rebecca. I said, no one should ever answer the phone on TV. The phone's always, just don't answer the fucking phone.
But those are the Deus Ex Machina. Like those are the universe. That's how the universe like disrupts everyone's
It's the
plans.
universe calling. It's the universe calling for sure.
I want to say one thing just about the overall writing and structure of this is that if you think of this episode sort of as a twist, it's a bit of a twist episode, right? Because we really feel like this is about the back and forth of Ted and Robin, and then you give us this wonderful twist. And I think a lot about how successful twist movies, the best ones are ones that work not quite without the twist, but that the second time around, it's not just about the twist. It's still great storytelling until then. And I feel like that's what you have here. You have this great Ted and Robin confusion wedding episode. And there's this twist. But then, as from everything you guys are talking about, it's completely part of the fabric of the episode, the idea that this is leading somewhere for him. A lot of perfect things had to happen or not happen to get to, I can see this girl across the room and pursue it. And it just really worked both ways for me.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's nice to hear. I really liked that on second watching too. And like realizing that this spins you in a whole new part of the season. That's great. You think we're going back to like Ted and Robin and maybe people watching could be like, oh, that's pretty soon to go back, right? I thought we put that to bed and now they're all friends. It's already coming back in the middle of the season. It was a complete mislead. We were actually not going to come back to them until the end of season 1. And I like that this spins it out into something completely unforeseen. And it's the universe calling.
All right, let's, Josh, we have a very special portion of our show. Would you like to introduce it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is very exciting. This is a section we like to call Questions and Observations from a clinical psychologist who's never seen How I Met Your Mother and also happens to be married to Josh.
So I was most taken by that moment when Ted came to the conclusion, based on Marshall's advice, that love shouldn't be that hard. It should be simple and easy. And I'm so often working with patients around this concept. What should it feel like when you found the person you're meant to be with? What parts should feel easy? And when is it okay and actually normal for it to feel quite hard? Because, in truth, long-term love does indeed take work. And how do you know when it's too hard? So these are very big questions, but I am wondering where you stand here. More specifically, what is easy? And what's the kind of hard that just is the price of admission for a long-term relationship?
That's a good one. I found myself thinking about it too, Jordana. When we're watching that, when Marshall gives that speech, I hadn't watched that speech in a long time, and it felt very young to me. Like Marshall is the older, wiser guy in that moment because he's engaged and he's been with Lily since he's 18 years old, from freshman year of college, and yet looking back at it now, it's like that is kind of a young take in a way because. It's not easy, right? It's not. It's like you have to work at it. It's not. Nothing is always effortless. I think he was talking about there has to be some spirit of effortlessness. There has to be some effortlessness to the decision to be with that person, right? That's how I took it. It has to. It should be like, well, I have to breathe oxygen. That's non-negotiable. It should kind of feel that, right? Love should feel that way. It should feel worth. I guess it should be an effortless decision. And then beyond that, there's going to be hard stuff, but the decision part should feel like it's natural to you. And I think that's how I viewed the speech this time. How did you feel about it, Josh? How did you interpret that moment?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think especially in first season, Marshall and Lily do have a because they're especially in this first season, they are the parents. They're like Ted's parents, they are. That really is a role that they play. And even Lily, this is a drum roll line, but she says to Robin, like, happiness shouldn't be this hard. Doesn't she say something like that?
She does. Yeah.
Which is both great and also like a little bit condescending and a little bit like
not entirely true either.
Yeah. Like I think some people struggle in their career very mightily. Some people struggle in relationships, but I don't think that anything we do as humans, I don't think that anyone can inoculate themselves against struggle and hardship. I think it's common for all of us in various forms. And I think when it comes to relationships, a friend of mine who's older than me, but very wise about relationships, he said, the thing that makes us fall in love is this feeling of similarity. Like, oh my God, we love the same bands and the same movies, and we have the same taste and aesthetic, and and we both love to talk about our feeling, like all these things that go check, 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 check. Oh, don't we line up? And it's almost like nature's way to get you bonded, right? And then after you've been with a person for a while, these differences start announcing themselves, and then you have to navigate the difference. I don't think Jordana will mind me saying this, but like a central thing in our relationship is like she is a Google Calendar planner in a way that would make your head spin. Like she'll go, hey, do you want to do so-and-so next Thursday at 3? And I'll go, okay. And I'll look down at my phone and I have a Google Calendar invite. It's there. She expects me to
say yes to it. It just happens as she says it.
I didn't even see her write it down. It's just she beamed it into my phone. And I have a thing where I don't know how I'm going to feel on Thursday at 3, because I'm not thinking about Thursday at 3. I'm thinking about today. And
that's future dinner. Josh's problem.
It's future Josh's problem. It's not my problem. And I think that, I don't know if this is so gendered, because I think there are men who are incredibly regimented in planning and list making and all those things. But I have had to yield and bend more towards, like, I've really had to like get on top of the Google shared calendar, right? Like for the sake of my marriage, like I've had to become much more of a planner. And planning vacations is very hard, because I'm like, I don't know I don't know if I'll have a job then. I'm talking about our marriage.
I know.
Did she walk in right as you began this speech?
So
everyone.
But it's been a real navigation, and it's also like, she's had to bend and yield in certain ways and I've had to bend and yield. But that's the kind of thing where, that's like good struggle. Like that's like good, and it also, I think, part of the blessing and opportunity of a relationship is it dislodges you from your patterns, or at least highlights them and allows them to be seen, which sometimes is, you don't want them to be highlighted and seen, like, but it ultimately makes you a more elastic kind of person, right? And which I think is a net positive, right?
It's a net positive. You have to evolve, right? You can't get with someone and it's all yes and. You need to be challenged a little bit, or else you'll never grow. Even this episode, it's funny. The storyline, the little B, I wouldn't even call it a B split, a C or D story runner, like, is Lily and Marshall not agreeing on anything about this wedding. And again, to come back to the sort of gender flip idea, Marshall wants this much sort of like, Lily says, oh, you've been dreaming of, Marshall's like, I've been dreaming of my wedding ever since I was, and she's like a little girl, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a little gender flip there. Marshall wants this way more traditional sort of froofy wedding, and she clearly wants something a little less traditional out in the woods. And like this whole episode storyline is them not agreeing on shit. And yet his overall feeling that he says to Stuart is it should be effortless. And I think he's talking about the decision to go through this thing called life with this other person, even as he's at the same time not agreeing on any one thing with Stuart. I mean, with Lily, he's still able to say to Stuart. And you see when they finally get to the wedding, there's like this little moment where they agree on one thing about the wedding planning. But that's not Marshall and Lily being in lockstep,
Right. Also, though, I think in some ways, I don't think like in later seasons, like it doesn't seem like Lily Aldrin would want an outdoor wedding. Like, do you think
I know we made her a little bit crunchier,
hippie for her. Like I don't
know,
a
little hippie.
Yeah. Like I feel like Marshall would want like a Minnesota, like the high school football field in Minnesota or something.
You could have flipped it there. Yeah,
you could have flipped it.
Yeah, it's true. We're still finding the characters. The one thing we knew for sure is that Lily's best friend is Claudia. That I'll stand by.
Alec, I couldn't help but notice you're wearing a really nice shirt today. Do you want to talk us through that?
Hot top, bro.
Yeah, hot top, bro.
Oh my God. Okay. Now we know what's going on Instagram now. Deal with this whole thing. This is part of our new merch here. This is our college style what is the show called? How We Made Your Mother.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Shirt.
You're the producer of it.
Yeah.
You work on the show.
It sounds like a good show. I don't have I should know this because I am the producer, but I believe by the time you're hearing this, we have already been to Wesleyan University and done a little live show there, which will be in our feed. And we thought, okay, well, we're going to a college, like a college style shirt. Yeah. We've got another one that's just the logo. 10% of all the profits are going to How You Make a Difference, our campaign to support congenital heart disease research. Very proud of that. And I'm just gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you that kids. I get to say that, kids. I'm gonna tell you the incredible story of how we met our friends at Amplifier, who are partnering with us to get some legendary How We Made Your Mother merch to you while raising money for congenital heart disease research. Amplifier is helping us to do something good by offering HIMYM fans something great. So if you are a business with big orders to fulfill, Amplifier is there to help growing consumer brands and influencers create a unique experience for their customers during the fulfillment process. The link to their site is in our show notes, and if you name drop How We Made Your Mother, you'll get special pricing for your emerging brands program. If you want to get this merch, just go to howwemadeyourmother.com, click on store. You could also go to howyougetyourmerch.com, and you'll go right to our Shopify location.
Alec, if we do any social media posts about the merch, which I assume we will, I think Hot Top Bro is a good
Hot Top Bro.
It's
fantastic. It's going up. It's going to be up. It's going to be up before people hear this because we record this now. It comes out in 4 weeks, but there will have been just exactly that. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Great. Yes, and it raises money for a cause really close to my heart, close to it. It's the doctor who is the expert in a condition my son has and also works just with the larger pediatric congenital heart population, doing research to help kids like that. So yeah, thank you guys. Anyone who buys this merch, you're supporting something really and truly amazing that's very, very close to my heart, my family's heart. So thank you.
And you become a walking ambassador for the show. So we're super grateful for that. Now, as tradition dictates, I'm going to read a wonderful letter that we received. Please write us letters, submit voice notes. Maybe we'll read your letter on the air or hear your voice at the start of an episode. But just tell us what How I Met Your Mother means to you, or any other wonderful How I Met Your Mother related things you want to share with us. Go to howwemadeyourmother.com. Contact. Is that right, Alec? And then everything should be pretty clear after that. Okay. So this is a wonderful letter we received from Emily. It says, December 2008, I was at the hospital delivery unit at the start of what was to be an almost 48-hour labor. My husband zipped out and returned with his laptop and season 3 of How I Met Your Mother. which he'd quickly picked up at Best Buy. We'd been watching together since season 1. I'd been a Buffy fan and followed Allison Hannigan. I'm sure we had already seen all of season 3, but I remember us sitting on the hospital bed together, waiting, and at least for a little while, pleasantly distracted with these great characters we knew so well. We'd also moved from New York a few years prior and reveled in the nostalgia for evenings with friends at our favorite bar, even while we looked toward our future. I started rewatching this series this past January for the first time and came upon the new podcast on a subreddit. Such perfect timing. And imagine my delight as well to discover that I'd missed most of season 8. My second child was an infant then. It's also possible I did watch it, but just have no memory of it. So it's like a whole lost season for me refound. Thank you for the show. It has a ton of heart and its creativity knows no bounds. I'm grateful to you all for putting this out in the world, even if I'm pretty sure it is behind my continued overuse of the word awesome. You did good. Be well. Emily from Oberlin, Ohio. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you, Emily. That's fantastic. I love when people have like these core memories that have been formed around How I Met Your Mother. Like our little show is part of the birth of her child, and she remembers that, and that's great. In a very meta way, not to do spoilers, there is an episode of How I Met Your Mother about distracting a pregnant woman who's in painful labor with storytelling, right? There's an episode, just spoilers, we are constantly trying to figure out whether we're doing spoilers of the show, but way later in the series, there is an episode where that's the idea of the episode. And now we're hearing How I Met Your Mother fulfilled that role for her. So that's really cool, Emily.
I also think it's funny, like discovering like a lost treasure trove of How I Met Your Mother episodes, like, but I'm not sure. I might have seen this, but I had an infant and I have no memory of it.
Think about it. You didn't even know what your notes on this episode meant that you wrote last night, Josh.
Yeah.
Now imagine, it's basically a year of your life like that.
But it's funny because one thing that I ascribe to How I Met Your Mother superfans is an intense memory of every episode. So it's really funny that the kind of mom brain would eradicate this whole season in your head.
Yes. Happens to dads too, to be fair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we're honored to have been a part of your labor. It's a weird sentence, but we are.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show was produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios, and our digital content producer, aka Gen Z Master, is Emily Blumberg. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor, with additional music by Craig Thomas and Andrew Majewski. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Want some merch? Click on the store link or go to howyougetyourmerch.com. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's newsletters on Substack. Order Craig Thomas's debut novel at craigthomaswriter.com/novel. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you or just New York City?